Last week I posted a video on why, in my opinion, we don't want to try to keep our backs to the target in order to come from the inside. And I talked about how we can use chest rotation. So we can rotate our chests into impact without spinning out. So today I'm back out at beautiful Superstition Mountain, and I wanted to walk you through why I feel like in my golf swing, once I have finished my wind-up, I don't have to try to keep my back to the target. I can just unwind my chest as fast as I want to and never come over the top. And this isn't just in my golf swing. When I look at the greats of all time, I see the same patterns. They're all able to unwind their chests with a lot of speed, and they don't come over the top. So in order to explain this, I've boiled this down to 3 areas where I see big differences between players who are able to unwind and players who either spin out or are not able to unwind. Number 1 is how we shift pressure and the timing of that pressure shift. So what great players are able to do is that they're done shifting to the trail side early, somewhere between here and here, and they begin to recenter themselves. So by the time the golf club arrives at the point when the club changes directions, they are already back enough to the left. That, in my opinion, is the back to the target feel that pros have. They've wound up, they've landed, backs to the target. The rest of the golf swing, it's not staying to the target. So the second area where I see big differences between players who are able to rotate well and players who spin out or wind up having to stay close to the target too long is how they power the golf club. What I see from a typical amateur who either is coming over it or having to stay too close is they're actually powering the golf club by pushing it out away from themselves and out in front of themselves. So the center of mass is moving out, their hands are moving out and away, and that leads to this almost casty look where everything's lined up at this point in the swing. Where what I see different from a player who's capable of unwinding the system well is their center of mass from the change of directions looks like it's actually staying up and back. Their arms generally don't look like they are racing out in front of them. They look like they're being brought along by the unwinding of everything from the middle out versus from the outside in. So a nice little thought or feel here is as you're changing directions, instead of pushing the golf club this way, feel like this palm is working a little bit more back and the club is laying on that palm longer down into the downswing. And for me, this is the number 1 reason I see players coming over the top, is how they power their hands and wrists. And the third area that I see differences between players who are able to unwind the system and players who are not is how they turn in their bends. And this is somewhat to do with sequence. So if I wind my system up, but I actually start unwinding from my upper body, it throws me out of my bends, it throws my right side out, where if I do this correctly and I wind up, now I flex and I start to unwind, this automatically puts me into the proper bends. It creates a little bit of right bend here and gets me moving on the correct incline. Now I can just unwind the system. So a feeling that I've heard spoken of as long as I can remember, and I'm sure coaches have been saying this forever, is that you want to feel like you are basically replacing your left shoulder with your right shoulder in the downswing. And that basically holds true. If we've made a proper wind up where we've got some leftward bend, the most common issue I see is players actually dropping the right shoulder down in an effort to come from the inside. So they've got too much tilt. In my experience, most people don't come over the top because their shoulder spins out high. It's almost always a phenomenon of what their arms are doing. So if we can simply learn to replace our left shoulder with our right shoulder, that really simplifies things. It also helps us maintain the depth we need in our hip sockets. So it's hard to move this direction into it and stay and move with symmetry. So as I just demonstrated that, I put the club across my chest and I just practiced rotating to demonstrate how my chest is turning. I think this is one of the most beneficial drills you could do. I don't see enough players working on how their chests turn and getting their body to rotate symmetrically. So again, those are the 3 keys I see in players that are able to unwind and players that feel like they cannot unwind at all. So now I want to walk you through how this applies to my original game, baseball. So I want to walk you through a baseball swing and how each of these things would make hitting that ball almost impossible. If I didn't shift my pressure at all, or I do what most golfers do where I shift to the right and now I try to swing, the bat's going to pull me off balance, I'm falling over. I might be able to, to kind of hit it, but it's tough. So I've got to get my pressure shifted earlier so now I can land and hit that nice hard line drive. Thing number 2, if I power this bat with my hands going out at the ball like mini golfers, so that would be this kind of a motion, and I try to hit it, it didn't work very good. I like chopped down on it, down and across. So the opposite would be to get the hands to stay back and let the turn send the bat into the ball. Whoops, pop up. We'll demonstrate powering with the hands and arms from face on. Just doesn't look good. And then the last piece of the puzzle is making sure our turn is correct. If I tilt my body this way and I try to hit that ball, the bat's going straight up. It's basically the opposite of this guy who's out with his hands now straight up. Hard to get that bat to run into the ball. So we want to make sure our turn is sending the barrel where we want it to. So understanding the basics of how we power a baseball bat can help us understand how to athletically move with the golf club, because many of the same principles, if done wrong in baseball, are even more disastrous than they are in golf. We want to really feel those same concepts. We're winding up, we land, so we shift. That's like taking a step with the bat. We want to let the hands stay back, and we want to turn in our bends to deliver that golf club. Not power it out of the top with our hands and arms, not stay back on our back foot, and not tilt or spin the upper half. So I want to leave you all with a nice drill for developing this good rotational pattern. And I want you to imagine you're playing t-ball. So use your golf club as if, imagine there's a tee right here, and we're going to practice delivering that golf club like a tee, like we're playing t-ball. And then lower it down just a little, and then a little more, and then go ahead and feel that feeling and hit one out there. So hopefully understanding those 3 areas and the differences between those who are able to unwind and those who cannot help you to swing like an athlete. Come on over to Milo Lens Golf for more personalized coaching, and please hit the like and subscribe button.